Well, if you hear a baby in the background, Nick Gibbs missed out last week on Election Tuesday because he had babysitting chores and they were in the way. And Nick, I guess this time I don't hear the baby now, so maybe it's gone to sleep.
I have a second pair of hands to help me out.
I see. Okay, all right. Yes. There's help in the building this week.
There
Okay.
is.
Well, speaking of help in the building, Jim Cramer confidently predicted that Tesla stock this morning, he said this, would keep on going. He was very excited about the benefits that Elon would get from his new cozy relationship with Trump. So kiss of death. and
I
Tesla
know, right?
and Tesla took a much needed day off. So what in the world do you think happens next? Do you think Jim Cramer is right? This is just a day off and we're off to the races. Do you think we're going to go down a little more before we go? Where do you think we are on this little journey?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't. It's hard to tell right now. We definitely took a little bit of a breather today, a little bit of a pullback, but it's hard to know. Like, is this just like the catch up, like you've been talking about, or is this like take a second and then we continue to rip up higher? I mean, I think. Sorry if there's any background noise. Um, there's a lot of things to get excited about too, right? Like right now we're going to Q4 should be, a great Q4 should be record numbers. We got inflation numbers coming out tomorrow. That could be really good and bullish to the market. You have obviously seems like every day Trump's coming out with a new video talking about things which the market is getting excited about. Um, you go into early next year and we might get an announcement about the new vehicles that could be coming out here soon. So, it almost seems like with the election out of the way and us having defined future and that future bodes well for Elon, if not like any kind of like pat on the back or anything, but just for no other reason, it's a friendly administration to Elon and his
Right.
companies. Like all of that could still not be priced in yet. It could still be piling in there. More people are slowly trying to get in. As you see a pullback, people get in, right?
Mhm.
So, so I don't know. It's really hard to tell. At the same time, like you and I were talking about before, I don't think anybody had on their bingo card plus $100, more than $100, right?
Right,
We hit, I
right.
think, 360 last night. So that's kind of where I'm at, which is essentially I have no idea.
No idea. Yeah, no idea.
Wh-
Well, okay.
what about you, Randy?
Well, I've been talking about this for a couple of days, and I've had some clap back, with regard to what is the value of this relationship. He's now being called the first buddy, right? So Elon is first buddy, and what is that? What is an actual dollar value? And I've tried to, you and I talked about it in the green room. I don't want to couch it as, you know, Trump is now just going to go get this bill passed or go tell this administrator over here to do something that Elon needs. I'm not talking about any kind of tit for tat, any kind of, push that would help Tesla. I'm just talking about all of the visibility among consumers, the visibility among heads of state around the world, the visibility among other business owners, car company owners, and people that are in the trade, but other, wherever they are, where they might be a purchaser of Tesla products or need partnerships with Tesla, all of a sudden the visibility is way up. And on the opposite side, Elon gets all these new relationships. I mean, networking is everything in business. You know this. And so all of a sudden, he's got every single member of the cabinet on his Rolodex. He's got speed dial, whatever you want to say today. He's got every, maybe even their assistants and maybe heads of the various departments are going to be on his speed dial. Other heads of states that maybe he hasn't had a chance to really meet yet. I mean, and if he needs information, if all he needs is more information about what to do with regard to India, what is it better to go to Indonesia or India or Vietnam, and where should he go next? All of a sudden, he's got this kind of information just times 100, I think. And all of that just adds value, adds value, adds value, adds value.
Yeah, I think, I mean, there's even more to it. Um, there's the things that I don't think people want to admit are a thing, but they are. For example, NHTSA, knowing that Elon and Trump and the House or all of Congress at this point, that there's a chummy relationship there. You really think NHTSA is going to do anything to really go after Tesla in a nefarious way? I mean, if it makes sense, do it. But even then, like, do you not think that even then they'll kind of be like, well, you know, they're kind of all in power. Why even waste our energy on this? Like, there's gonna be a lot of like, just I don't want to mess with that guy,
Yeah, yeah,
And at the same time, anybody who doesn't want to mess with Trump by way as far as foreign leaders, to your point, they're not going to want to mess with Elon either at this point. So it's interesting. Like, there's all the unsaid things that don't have to be said but are understood.
yes, yeah.
That's how do you can't
Yes.
rule that part out either.
Yeah, so I talked about it a little bit. I forget which one, because I've talked about this a few times, because I think it's really important. I think this is really important. I don't think we should be putting it aside and saying, "Oh, well, that's nice." I think it's important in terms of the future of all of Elon's enterprises, and most of us are most interested in Tesla. It's important. I think what you might be talking about is just a slight thumb on the scale movement.
Yes. Yes.
It was over on this scale, and now it's been moved over. It's only 3 centimeters, but that 3 centimeters
The
movement of the thumb
difference.
makes a big difference. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Exactly it.
Yeah. Now there's also the visibility for potential additional stockholders. The fact of where he now sits with regard to institutional buyers of stock are, I think, going to look at this and go, it's worth something. In fact, if you read the financial press the last few days, all of them are talking about it.
Yeah.
Virtually every single article is talking about, well, this cozy relationship is going to be good for Tesla. So if they're saying that, then if I'm the guy at BlackRock or the guy at the CalPERS or wherever, these big funds are anywhere, anybody that's sitting wherever they're sitting is going to go, this is going to be good for Tesla long term. Again, even if it's only in the margins, it's going to be good for Tesla. Therefore, maybe I should buy more than I own now.
Yeah. You tell me if this is too wild of a thought. I don't think it is, but it also benefits shareholders in the sense that I imagine that these companies that are boycotting advertising on X, some of them are kind of going to start to want to distance themselves from that.
Yeah.
And that could quickly bring more revenue to X, which could be one of the reasons that maybe it delays or just eliminates the need for Elon to sell any more stock.
Mm-hmm.
That alone could be good for shareholders.
Right.
Like, I mean, there's so many things.
Yeah, yeah. I suspect that if somebody were valuing X today, it would be worth a lot more than it
A
was.
lot more, right?
Yeah,
Exactly. And that's kind of good for Elon and his bills.
that's right. That's right. Absolutely right. Yeah, and then of course the really big one that I think people are not paying attention to. I even asked Troy Teslike if he wouldn't mind kind of keeping his eyeball on this particular item for me, and that is that visibility, that PR that Elon is getting right now. I think it translates into some sales.
Yeah.
And so if all of a sudden cars start selling better and Cybertruck starts, well, how do you sell more Cybertrucks and you already have that waiting list? But anyway, but if you start selling a few more cars and you start selling a few more Powerwalls, et cetera, then that's a very, direct benefit, not because the person has decided for some nefarious reason. They've just decided, oh, let me take another look. I've just seen a big advertisement for this Elon Musk guy. he's done these things and he's standing there with a Tesla t-shirt on. Maybe I should go on their website and just check them out. No different than a Super Bowl ad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all
Exactly.
of those could be potential benefits that could be in that $100 price increase, and it might be more or less
More. Yeah.
value. Yeah, right.
Yeah. It could be more. Yeah.
Could,
And that's all just that immediate time, time change or, value change, right?
right,
I'm sure like you won't see if like a BlackRock wants to buy more, they're not gonna just buy everything up front either, right? This
right.
might only be 50% of their allocation so far. It could be all
Yeah,
of it.
yeah, yeah.
So that's the other thing to think about.
Yeah, and they might, after a dip like today, to our earlier point, tomorrow, people might look at that dip and go, what a great time to get in. Other
Yeah.
people might go, oh my gosh, it was just all fluff. It's time to get out. But that's how the market works, right? So it'd be interesting to see. So my thinking would be that we need that this price point, this 350, 360 range is probably fair. It's probably where it should be fundamentally anyway, without this extra.
Yeah.
And that it's going to take the next the 2.5 vehicle, or maybe Juniper might give it a little boost, but it's going to take more catalytic action to get
A,
it up to the 410 or whatever. Yeah.
a great Q4 delivery numbers.
A good Q4 delivery number, right? A good Q4 even energy number might be
Yeah.
because people now are looking at that, on the second also, to see where that number comes in.
Yeah.
Well, okay. We missed you again last Tuesday. A lot has happened. I personally am super impressed with the speed and the communications that are coming out from this transition team. I mean, Trump is putting out like a little 3-minute or 4-minute video every day, and they're really well written
Yeah.
and well delivered. And the speed of which the appointments are being made and things are being laid out in terms of a plan. I think any of that's Elon.
I don't know. I mean, you got to give Trump and his I don't know what you call it, but his political team, you gotta give them some credit. I mean, they have been innovators across the board, right? Like you've seen this election, they've done so many innovative things. The way they're creating ads, it's not just doing mainstream media, going on podcasts,
Yeah.
crazy different, range of podcasters, like literally everyone. Um, they've really approached this entire campaign in a very unique way. And it's interesting to see that translate right over post election, that this whole doing the video every day, moving as fast, like, oh, this is all new. We've never seen someone get elected and do anything like this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like the most transparent. And Trump was like this last time too because he tweeted so much. But
Right.
you knew what was going on with the president. You were actually aware of what was going on.
Right.
And I feel like that again. Like with Biden, like every once in a while you'd hear something or you see him speak here or there, but like you didn't feel like you had a connection and you knew what was going on every day. And so I just think I'm sure some of it is Elon, his influence to be at speed. Maybe him and Trump have spoken or something, and just hit Elon's like this necessity for speed and get things done. Maybe that's translating over into Trump a little more than he would. But I
Mhm.
think in general, this is part of what we've seen from his political campaign, that they break molds, they do things differently, and I'm here for it. Like I love that we get to see these videos and see what's going on rather than we got the election. All right, we'll see you in January.
And the number one thing that convinced me to be a Trump fan, because I wasn't a Trump fan,
The hair.
even after he was elected, I was still not, I mean, I voted for him and I was all for him, but I wasn't a fan. It was how similar he governed to how he ran.
Yeah.
It was like, are you kidding me? I've never seen Reagan. He governed like he ran. So it's so unusual to see somebody say, "This is my platform," and then they get in office and then they just go do it. It's like, what? That's very unusual. And that's
Hmm.
what he's doing again. I mean, every time he does one of these little 3-minute videos, I'm going, yeah, that's what I voted for. Yeah, that's what I voted for.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's there's definitely change happening. And I think something that will also, I think the country wants it. So it also gives it a little bit of that inertia it needs to actually get things moving. Like you could feel it in the air that people would like this. They like what's happening. I would even say like a lot of my Democratic friends, it's, before when Trump won, it was kind of like we're after this guy, we got to be against this guy.
Mhm.
Now it kind of feels like they're like, all right, is what it is. Let's move on. Right?
Yeah.
Like, do you feel that difference? Like before, it was like, oh no, this is a big problem. Now it's like, all right, he won. See you in
Yeah,
4 years.
it's interesting. I have three clients left because that's all I want right now. And all three clients have been with me for 16, 17 years. All three clients are Dems, but two of them are serious, really far left. New York, it lives in New York now. The other one lived in New York when he was growing up. I mean, but all three of them are so mellow about it. The one that was the least mellow was the guy that is the closest to the center. He was actually slightly more like, well, I just don't like Trump. He's such a. But the other two were like, yeah, okay, well, I think to your point, I think that's right.
Yeah, it's weird to see, but I definitely think things are a lot more just calm, and I think that will give him more inertia for a lot of his initiatives.
So then the other thing, of course, we were blown away by the 100-point rise on Tesla, but I think most people were kind of blown away by the continued rise of the overall stock market since it was already at all-time highs going into the election. Sometimes you sell on the news, maybe you get a little bump, but it wasn't a little bump. It is being characterized as a Trump rally that just seems to have no end. Was that surprising to you as well?
It was like I expected a jump. Like I thought we would get to 270, maybe 290, like in Tesla. This was definitely, I think, a shock for like I'd said that I thought we could get to 300 by Halloween. I'd said that a few times,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
it didn't quite happen there. But I just I didn't think it would be like this. I didn't think we'd be blowing past it. I thought maybe it'd be like 298,
Right.
295. I'd be like, see, told you. But this is
But
unexpected.
what do you about the entire market? Do you think the market honestly believes that if Trump does what he says he's going to do, raises tariffs and reduces corporate and personal income taxes in equivalence, as he gets more tariff money, he reduces those other things. Do you think that the market likes the idea of that experiment? Or do you think they're not paying attention to that? They just think he'll be good for business because he's going to cut regs and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I think the second one is
Okay.
more so what the market thinks. But I do agree with your first point. I I find that extremely interesting. It's as if we could go back to, the way the Constitution was.
Right.
I mean, that would be absolutely amazing. But I don't think that would happen anytime soon just because we have so much debt to pay back.
Yeah.
Right. So you would think, I don't know. Then you can make the argument that, well, but by giving people a tax break, you further stimulate the growth. So,
Right. Right.
yeah, I don't know. That's a hard one, but I definitely think people are just more so think he's gonna be good for business. I think that's really what you see right now.
But there's always this talk on X that as soon as a new subject comes along, like the Ukraine or the COVID virus or whatever, all of a sudden everybody on X becomes an expert, about that subject matter that they didn't know anything about it the day before, didn't know anything about communicable diseases at all, but all of a sudden they're an expert. So now the new expertise is going to be about tariffs. I happen to know a ton about tariffs since I've been an import export my entire life. And it doesn't faze me at all that they might raise tariffs, even dramatically. I hope that it will be negotiated with the trading partners, even the um, China, even the ones that are not necessarily our friends, but we trade with a ton. I think China's our second largest, either the second or third largest after Canada and Mexico. trading partner. I hope that we have a conversation with Canada, we have a conversation with Mexico before we do these tariff increases, and that they're nuanced, that the approach is nuanced, because you can't raise the tariff so much that it gives you no income. So right now, Biden raised the tariffs on Chinese cars to 100% or whatever it was. Well, there's no Chinese cars coming in at all. Well, that
Yeah.
would provide a dime of income to the Treasury. So it has to be something that doesn't completely turn off the spigot, or that provides some other kind of income, like domestic production, would potentially create some income if the tariff does bring on manufacturing in the United States. So I think nuanced. I think they will be nuanced in how they approach it. But it could be real numbers. It could be really a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, look, everybody needs to win. It's the thing, right? And that really is the art of the deal, right? When
Yep.
when nobody's truly happy, then everybody wins.
Yeah.
So, you know, with tariffs, to your point, the people who are selling the goods, they still need to be able to be profitable,
Yeah. Yes.
right? So yeah, so I agree with you. And I think during his last term, he showed that he was able to do that in a skillful way, to the point where I believe all the tariffs from his administration are still in place.
Yeah, they didn't, I don't think they touched one of them. In fact, they just increased them. I don't think they decreased any of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So clearly, I think that's just a lot of fear mongering by people.
Right, right. Yeah. And quite frankly, again, in my experience, there's so many other inputs to an imported item. You have everything from raw materials to packaging to labor. How much is the labor in a particular country or a particular area of that country? How much is the cost of the land and the building? I mean, all those inputs are all part of it. Then you have the exchange of currencies. That's another input, because if your currency gets out of whack with their currency, that could be a bigger input than the tariff is. So all of these kinds of things are impacting the landed price here in the United States, and tariffs are just one of them. And once you have a tariff, then everybody gets busy and they try to figure out how to solve it, how to continue to do business, even within that tariff, just like they would if the currencies got out of whack compared to what they were. You're like, oh, the currency just went up 10%. Well, I don't want to stop doing business with the United States. How can I make up that 10% in some other way, so that I don't end up with no business?
I can't say that any better.
Okay. Well, one of the other parts of the stock market today was the rotation unrotated. So, do you think everybody's been talking about that the Trump administration would be really good for Main Street, be really good for the small caps and the mid caps? And so we saw this wasn't quite a rotation. It was more like more emphasis on the mid caps and the small caps. What do you think? Do you think that this is going to continue as a rotation, or do you think we'll or a quasi rotation with more emphasis on these smaller businesses, or do you think it's still going to be a tech world?
Yeah, I think it's probably still gonna be a tech world. These I don't know if these rotations are real rotations a lot of times. I think sometimes like tech is just a little quieter, so it allows you to have more attention on these other ones. But no, I think it's definitely still going to be tech. It pretty much always is tech, no matter what. Like, it's just being honest here. Um, but they're exciting, they're the innovative companies, and if you're talking about growth and more demand, and guess who makes the most margins on selling more goods? It's tech.
Yeah, it's a little bit off of our subject category, but I think I just saw a headline that AWS made a deal with Microsoft to provide them with NVIDIA resources through AWS. Did you catch that one?
I would not be able to talk about that.
Oh, you wouldn't be able to talk about it. Oh, I see. You put the deal together. Okay, never mind. Never mind. We'll talk about that another day. I mean, did you see the headline?
I might have.
Okay, did I say it right? I know. Okay, all right. Okay, I'll leave it.
What'd you think about that?
I thought that was fascinating. It showed what I think people have been saying, that there's a lot of ways to skin this cat. You don't necessarily have to own, a few acres of your own computers or your own chips in order to be in the world of NVIDIA chips. So
Yeah.
if Microsoft could make that kind of a decision to do it through AWS, then other people could decide to do it through other folks who own large systems. So it brings us back to some of the conversations about AIX and Tesla in terms of their massive chip facilities
Hmm.
that they might be providing those as a service someday.
Yeah. I mean, it. You've seen this countless times, right? You've seen like Microsoft and Apple work together
Right.
when they were mortal enemies. You've seen you, in your day to day life, right? If somebody has the client and you have the product, but I have the client, all right, well, I'll buy the product from you and I'll sell it to the client,
Right.
right? You see that all the time. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's literally how everything works. So it's pretty standard, but I think you're gonna see a lot more of that in tech.
Okay.
Um, it I think innovation leads to that, right? Like it becomes where the basic little things we're fighting for before just aren't that important. Like we kind of need each other so that we can go do these other great things.
Right.
And I think that becomes pretty awesome when that happens.
Cool. Okay, I'm going to ask you my big question of last week, or I forget which day, but it's my biggest question of all. And it doesn't really probably matter in terms of
Uh
Tesla's
oh.
future. It probably doesn't actually matter in terms of Tesla's future, but it matters in terms of understanding the future, in
Okay.
terms of this, in terms of the vehicles being electrified and automated. And the question is, how are any of the other car companies going to survive 3 years out?
I've been saying this for so long, and my timing has been really bad. But I think you're seeing signs of it now with Ford and Volkswagen, Toyota. But I, I don't know. I don't know, Randy. I don't see them surviving unless they make a couple niche vehicles and they're more of uh, I don't know, a nostalgic feel
Yeah,
type company.
right.
Like I don't see it. It's kind of like how they still have one blockbuster still open somewhere.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Like
I saw that. Yeah.
I feel like it's like that. Like yeah, we'll keep Porsche around because well the 911 is too iconic of a car just not to have.
So how can all 60 of these other companies be so stupid that they haven't called Elon yet? I don't get it. If they see their sales going down, if they see that Elon, I mean, at this point, you'd have to be a complete fool not to see that every aspect of the modern vehicle, Tesla is 5 to 10 years ahead. Every aspect,
Yeah,
the building, the return on investment, invested
invest
invested
capital.
capital when building a factory, the speed of building a factory, the internal ways that the factory works in terms of its data and the way that it certifies the cars automatically as the cars are being built. I mean, the unboxed. I just go down the list. There's all these things that they're just years and years and years ahead that these guys can't possibly catch up. Wouldn't at some point, wouldn't you put your pride aside or something and pick up the phone and say, okay, we're ready to buy them from you, or we're ready to have you build a factory for us, or we're ready to license or something.
Yeah, or something, right? Or like, hey, can you guys come in and do like a change management for us? Or like, come do an audit and like help us like make this your side business. How can we become more efficient? What are we doing wrong? Like something like that. But even that aside, like just where are the licensing deals?
Yeah.
You
Just
know
the
what I mean?
like
Like,
just the regular, yeah.
yeah, you guys can't even figure out the thing that you're supposed to already know how to do.
Right.
How are you gonna figure out this other part?
Yeah, I mean,
It's
when Volkswagen couldn't figure out how to even do over-the-air updates with, I forget how many, 5,000 engineers or whatever it was, it would just seem like that's an easy phone call. And yet here they've done it again. They just made a deal today. They finalized their deal with Rivian, and the two of them are going to spend $2 billion to try to figure out how to do the operating system, the OS, for their cars in the future. 2 billion. Do you think Elon would have sold them, Pat? I mean, some
yeah.
information for less than 2 billion?
For sure, Rivian's the future of Volkswagen. I think for sure. I think eventually Volkswagen buys Rivian.
I see. I see. And then they go down together.
Well, no, I think Rivian's figured out a lot of things, but they don't have scale. I honestly think like Rivian's at a point where they've learned so much and they've gotten so much good and right, but Volkswagen knows how to be more efficient, how to do things at scale that Rivian doesn't. It
Uh-huh.
almost seems like that'd be a good fit to create a company that could survive.
I see. Okay. All right. And so, but how do any of them do it if they don't have an automated system at some kind of price that people can afford?
Oh, well, you have to purchase that from Tesla, of
I
course.
see.
Good luck on that one. I'm just talking about making the vehicle.
I see. Okay. All right. So you think some other people could make a vehicle that would be a compelling enough vehicle at a compelling enough price. But if the entire world says we want to be chauffeured, then they're going to have to find somebody to, and Tesla would be the only one that really
Only
can,
one.
that can really do it. All right. I just was
Yeah.
curious because, that's what I think. I used to think that these guys would have figured it out by now and they would be making some kind of dent in the numbers, but so far,
Well, supposedly GM's doing pretty good right now. Um,
have they
I saw.
cracked 100?
I don't know.
I
I
don't think
saw
they.
something the other day, but I mean, like you know, I would say GM's doing better than Ford. Okay, I'm not saying the bar too high here. I get it, but I'm just saying.
Well, Honda America is doing better than either one. So and I'm guessing that Hyundai Kia will do better than Honda. I'm
Yeah,
talking about America, the
yeah,
American.
yeah, no, for sure.
They have a very large plant in Georgia, don't they? Hyundai, I
Is
think
it
Hyundai's got
Georgia?
a big
I
plant
don't
in
know
Georgia.
why I was thinking Carolinas,
It
but
might have been Carolina. Yeah. Anyway,
I know Rivian's got. Doesn't Rivian have something in Georgia?
yeah, I think they were going to, and they stopped, or maybe
They were
they
going to. Oh,
remember yet.
yeah.
Well, okay.
Riveting content here. Where do we think they have a car plant?
Could it be? Well, okay. This is something I do know something about because I can read it right here. a thousand power walls a day. And
It's a lot.
AJ estimates that is $1.1 billion of sales per year. I'm assuming he meant sales. He just said a 1.1 billion per year. I don't think he meant profit. So probably must have meant sales. So $1 billion a year of any product is not chicken scratch. That's real money.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'll take that for 1 year, please.
I mean,
Just that.
I I worked really, really hard to get my company up 5 million in sales, and that was all the products in the entire building. All right, so $1 billion in sales, pretty good, but I don't think that most of the consuming public out there, which would be both consumers and businesses, have a clue that they even exist. So
Yeah,
how,
probably not.
how big is the Powerwall potential? Is that something? Do you have Powerwalls?
I don't. So we moved into this house in February
Oh,
that we're in now. My
right.
last house didn't have enough surface area
Oh,
on the roof
solar.
to have solar panels, so it kind of felt like pointless to have power pack because
Yeah, yeah.
then what? I'm just filling up with electricity. I guess I could use that in place of a generator, but generator is more cost effective. This new house, we were thinking about putting panels and getting power walls, but then the hurricane hit us. So
Oh, there you go. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, so
Another day.
no, don't have. That's a long way of saying no. What about you? Do you have any?
No, I put my solar panels up on my Inglewood house um, 10 years, 11 years ago. So it was well before Powerwalls or anybody.
Mm.
I don't think anybody was even making anything like that at that point. And so and Tesla unfortunately would not put on panels on my house because it was a steel roof.
Oh,
And I had specifically put on a steel roof because it's a better roof. And
like
so,
it's steel?
yeah, well, so what do you call it? It's laminated steel. It's a laminated steel roof.
Okay, gotcha.
So, and other companies would put the paneling up or the solar panels on a steel roof, but Tesla wouldn't at that time. Who knows since? Well, it
Mm.
wasn't even Tesla at that time. It was what
Oh
was it?
yeah, Solar City.
Solar City.
So,
So I tried to get Solar City to do it, but they wouldn't do it. But anyway, so yeah, I still don't have and that's now a rental, so I haven't put it in.
how how long or how well have those solar panels kept up?
You know, I'm, this would be in too long and embarrassing a conversation. I probably should have them cleaned. I should probably have somebody come in and check them to see how they're doing. I'm just, I just, the tenant hardly ever bothers me and I hardly ever bother them. So it's kind
Oh,
of
one
just,
of those.
yeah, just,
Yeah, I don't want to start up conversations out of nowhere.
yes. So I just haven't
I
done.
I get that 100%. That's how it is with our tenants. Like,
There you go.
you don't call me, I won't call you.
That's
Just
right.
keep
That's right.
paying. We're all good.
Yeah, so these solar panels, I mean the I'm sorry, the power walls, there might, and I don't know how much they're doing of this overseas. I'm just wondering, it doesn't get talked about. I had a product like this. I had a product that was a tire changing tool. We did $100,000 a year in that tire changing tool every single year, year after year after year after year.
Mm,
But everything else was 5.5 million, so it was like 100,000 was like hard to find a product champion, hard to find somebody
yeah.
to go out and push that product, even though it was by far the best tire changing tool in the business, provably. So it was 100,000 a year pretty much the entire time. So I'm just wondering if the power walls might fit into that category. It's one of those ones that sometimes you think maybe it's better to split it off into a division or into a separate company so they could go out and really, it would be important to them.
Mm. Hey, that's interesting. Uh, I imagine right now they have plenty of demand on that one.
I think so.
Um, yeah.
But it can't be
That
that hard to start up you know, another
yeah.
factory, make more of them or whatever is all I'm thinking. Yeah,
No, yeah. I mean, that's true. I mean, the limiting factor there could be batteries, though, right?
could be or could have been. I don't
Could
think
have been.
it. Yeah, not in today's market. All right. So anything else that you're thinking about right now with regard to the economy, the markets, politics, which we'll be talking about less and less, but
Yeah. We talked about a lot of the good things that could happen to, either keep the rally going or just in general for Tesla in the next couple months. But we didn't talk about any of or the only one thing I could think of that's potentially negative, and that's the decision on Elon Musk's pay package,
oh, that
right? That's still kind of hanging out there.
before the end of the year, the judge said.
Yeah. And I maybe everyone doesn't think this, but I'm of the opinion that she was acting in a political way, not in a
Yep.
just way.
Yep.
See what I did there?
Yep.
Um, um, so I don't know. I wonder if there's any sentiment of revenge or
Or
I don't
the
know.
opposite, or the opposite, what you just said a minute ago. A little, a
Whatever.
little, a little
Yeah,
bit a little bit of the thumb shifting on
could be.
on scales of justice. She no longer has to answer to the the old president. She now has a new
That's true.
president that's coming into office, and she might be thinking, why would I continue to punish Elon Musk and Tesla, who now have a tremendous amount of power? And what would you call it? If Elon already had a big voice last time when he started, talking about everybody should move out of that state,
Imagine now.
imagine now.
Yeah. Yeah, and honestly, if the rumors are true that Biden is kind of not happy with Harris after everything that happened.
Right.
He might just tell a judge,
Yeah, right.
it's whatever, get over it. Like, just let it go at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, then you've
Uh,
got the Supreme Court of Delaware. And then after that, you've got the United States Supreme Court, which could be brought into play if they can find and I'm sure you can always find a reason to elevate it if you have to. So it's probably not done anyway at the end of the year, but
yeah.
it would be nice if it
Sure.
was out of our hair, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, so that's the only other thing that keeps, like, I keep thinking, like, okay, where's the canary in the coal mine, right? Like, well, I'm looking for it. And that's the only thing I can see right now. Because honestly, from here, I mean, I think from here it's really just gonna get like this was the bread and butter before the appetizers even come out. That's kind of what it feels like going
Yeah.
into 2025 and 2026 and 2027. It's like, yeah, this that's all this is right now.
Yeah, it's like it's like we've already been talking about 2026 as the year when everything comes together. We've already been
Yeah.
talking about 2025 was when the stock goes crazy in anticipation of 2026. And now you add to it a favorable administration in Washington. I mean, it's pretty hard not to think that it's going to be a fun 3 or 4 years.
Let's hope. Let's
That's
hope.
well, let's see if it's been any fun in the after hours.
It has been.
It hasn't been.
No, it has.
Well, not for Tesla. Tesla's
No,
down.
no. Well, yeah.
Tesla's down
Fun,
another.
interesting. How about interesting, not fun?
Interesting. There you go. Yes. So it was Tesla down another 237 in the after hours after being down 21.51 today, settling in at this moment at 326. But if you told anybody a week ago Monday that it would be 326 this Tuesday, they would have gone, hallelujah. They would have been really happy. Yeah. And so you said that the rest of the markets are looking better?
Well, no, not better.
Oh.
But
Interesting.
Tesla looks better.
I
That's
see.
why I was saying it's interesting. Like, we have literally a V recovery right now from the low and aftermarkets at 321.40.
Oh, I see. Okay. So there's been, I don't have that. I'm in the wrong field to be able to see that after hours recovery that you're talking about. Okay.
Oh,
So it
gotcha.
is coming
Okay.
back towards the green in the after hours.
Yeah, it went all the way down to 321, and now it's all the way like in a straight V up to
Oh,
326, 327.
I see. All right. Okay.
So yeah.
Well, like I said, I've got this dry powder that I want to use, so I'm okay if it stays down there, but other people might be more happy if it went up. So
Yeah.
the other thing that's been scaring a lot of people is the 10-year bond, actually all the bonds. And we're back at 442.
Yeah. They don't like the rate cuts, do they?
Yes. Well, so there's an awful lot of conversation about the bonds. Larry, I think, believes, and I've seen a couple of other people say that it might be other countries that are bailing on the bond. We know China's bailing on the bonds, et cetera. So it might be other countries that are getting out of the bonds right now. We've got people going heavily into equities, lots of money going into equities, lots of money going into the Bitcoin and the other cyber currencies. So when people are thinking maybe that the inflation isn't under control, we'll find out a little bit
We'll
tomorrow.
find out. Yeah.
A little bit tomorrow. What do you think?
Um, I think it's hard. I think there's a lot of uncertainty still with whether or not we're gonna have a recession or not.
Mm,
I think there's still concern. I mean, I know everyone's excited about Trump coming in and everything, but there's a lot of time still between now and January, end of January,
right.
and things could still get bad really quickly. So it's hard to know what's actually happening there, but I do think it's more fears that everyone's excited, the market's doing great, but the economy is not great.
Yeah,
right?
definitely. Home
Uh,
Depot said today that even though things are up a bit, people are still waiting to make those large purchases.
yeah, there's still that reality on the ground, and I I think the bond market's telling us what's actually happening. So yeah, so
And some evidence of that would be that the 3 month is very close to uninverting.
mm,
So we are now only, quick math here, we are under 15 basis points from reinverting. And on the 2 month, even that one is under 20 basis points now from reinverting. So if it's true that the reinversions happen when the recession starts, we've already got the 2 year that has definitely completely reinverted.
mhm.
As others also do. I would sure like to be, I don't want to have a recession, but I would like to be right. I said June is when it started.
Yeah. Well, and don't forget, like just because you're in a recession doesn't mean the stock market can't go up,
Yeah, of course. Right.
right? But yeah, it definitely look no matter what, like even Trump getting in there right now, if we're on course for a recession, it's not like you can just stop it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
economy's too big to just move like that.
Absolutely. But I will say, the other thing I've contended is that no matter whether we were in a recession in June, if we're in a recession now, even if we go into a recession shortly, I really believe that by spring, we will not be in a recession because I don't think that we can go another year with people putting off the refrigerator purchase. I
Yeah.
just don't think it's going to happen. It's been 3 seasons now with nobody buying refrigerators. I think it's not going to go another year. So I just think it's
Well, I'll be doing my part here shortly, guys. Not by choice either.
not by choice, not because your refrigerator was old and
You
ugly.
know what? Let's do a fridge. Let's do a dishwasher. How
Yes.
about a new double oven? What else can we throw in there?
All right. Well, oil is virtually unchanged in the pre-market, but took a good dive earlier today. I think it's headed way south. You thought so too, right? Into the 50s? Did I lose your sound? Yes, I did. I lost your sound. I don't know
No,
what.
sorry. I muted
Oh,
to have a quiet, and I forgot about the mute.
I see.
I
Okay.
made it all this way, and I screwed up now.
All right. So oil into the 50s?
Yeah, yeah. I I think there's a good chance that happens. But it's still hard to tell because I know OPEC is kind of delaying or not delaying, so we'll see what happens there. But you know, it sure seems like the market's getting flush with oil. So
Now it
we'll
doesn't
see.
apparently it's not flush enough with natural gas because natural gas is sitting at $2.91, which is the highest I've ever seen it since I started paying a lot of attention. So somebody said that might be because Europe said they're ready to start buying from the United States.
Yeah, I mean I don't know if that's why it's just like specifically that, but um, I definitely think there's been more purchasing of it from from us.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I think there's a good chance that's it.
Okay. All right. Gold flat in the pre-market, silver continuing up. But both of those now have kind of settled back just a little bit. They were, both going like this, and they've both they're kind of relaxed right now. The one that's not relaxed, of course, is crypto. I'm sorry, Bitcoin up 1,100, 249. So do we break through 90 this time and stay over 90 or?
Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, here's the big question: is this the big move after the halving, or
Right.
is this like the rest of the market? It's the Trump factor, and even if it is just a Trump factor, and those I think their bills or whatever they were going around about U.S. buying X amount of Bitcoin every year. I mean, that alone could
Right.
get Bitcoin to 500,000, a million. I mean,
So have you bought yet?
no,
Would you buy Bitcoin or would you buy an ETF?
probably Bitcoin.
Probably Bitcoin itself. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
I have to admit that I'm slightly more interested now after CERN Basher explained the other part of Bitcoin. Don't know if you saw that video, but if you
I
didn't,
didn't.
be fascinated by it. He talks about it being a security device more than a currency.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, and
Yeah.
it's a great video. It was last week, I think last Thursday or Friday. Okay, and the pre-market for the equities, not much happening. Down 22, S&P down 6, and NASDAQ down 36. So not really significant numbers that would give us a ton of information about tomorrow morning.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, I think yesterday in the aftermarkets, or even this morning in the aftermarkets, we're down like $11 or something like that, and that was clearly an indication of things to come. But I think a lot of times the what you see the night before is just a continuation of what you had during the day, and the next day is a whole different day.
Right, right.
So
Yeah, yeah.
hard to know.
Okay, well, I just wanted to let people know I've done a little programming change. I normally do my show at the midday around 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock California time. Yesterday, I forgot. I forgot to put it up. I forgot to publish it. And I put it up at 8 o'clock instead. And it did really, really well. And so I thought to myself, why don't you try that again? So Warren Redlich, I did a show with him yesterday, and I've got it ready to go. I'm going to put it up at 8 o'clock California time. So sorry, East Coasters, you'd have to stay up until 11 o'clock to do this, but I'm going to try this and see if this is a better time to put it up. But it's a very interesting video that I did with Warren, so that'll be up in just a little while. And so anyway, that's I thought that would be interesting to let people know I'm going to experiment with that. Maybe the middle of the day is not a great time to put things up.
Let me know how it goes.
Okay.
Trust the data.
That's right. Trust the data. Exactly right. All right. Well, there you go. I think we've done all we can do. Is there any last brilliance that you might have to share with us tonight? That doesn't have to be anything you can talk about, actually.
Um, just be thankful for what you have.
That's right. That's right. You never know when that hurricane's going to blow in.
That's for damn sure.
All right. Thank you, Nicholas, as always, for joining us on Tuesday night. And to all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.